What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dontez, love with the Diverse Perspective. Yo, I'm excited, Amanda, because we finally got here. It seemed like it took forever, but baby, we are here. The Diverse Perspective is a podcast where it's insight from our side, where we are giving people the voice to actually voice how they feel, what they feel. But it has to have truth to it, and it has to be fun. That's all I gotta say. So, like I said, I'm your boy Dontez, love, celebrity hairstylist, all that good stuff. You know, it just is what it is. I'm just gonna leave that part there because honestly, I want to talk about the diverse perspective and the impact that I expect to happen from this particular podcast. I want this place to be a platform where people can actually vocalize how they feel in a safe space. I feel we have so many talk shows, we have so many different things that are taking place where people can voice their opinions, but it's not always appreciated or it's always not accepted. And I want this to be a safe space. So I'm gonna dive straight in and talk about the topic of the hour for me, which is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is something that a lot of people have never heard of, primarily because, you know, when we think about diagnosis, when we think about mental illnesses, when we think about mental issues, or whatever the case may be, we'll always go to anxiety, we'll always go to depression, we'll always go to certain things. But in this particular case, I want to talk about imposter syndrome because I've heard it and I did not understand what it meant. Like I didn't really grasp the concept of what imposter syndrome is. And two clinical psychologists, Paulina Rose Clance and Suzanne Imes, first identified and named imposter syndrome back in 1978. Now, mind you, this is before I was born, so that means it's been around. You get what I'm saying? And friends, I'm gonna be real honest with you. We don't want to look at the diagnosis because a lot of times it causes us to not be accountable and not really understand what's going on in our life. And for me, that was kind of tough for me to really just grasp the concept that, hey, I'm not normal. Well, I've never been normal anyway, so that's never been an issue. But, you know what I'm saying, my mental health was not normal, if that makes sense. So imposter syndrome, a person doesn't feel confident or competent regardless of what they achieve. So no matter what I was accomplishing, no matter what I was achieving, the issue for me was now externally it happened. Internally, I didn't feel qualified or I didn't feel like it really happened. And it took me all this time to finally find the words to be able to verbalize how I've been feeling this whole time. And, you know, people say, oh, well, you're depressed. Yes, that's a part of it, but it was something more than just depression because I knew that in my mind, something was wrong. And I didn't understand why. I just worked on the Marvin Sapp movie. Like, this is like a big deal. And I'm having a nervous breakdown right after. What is going on? And I believe that because we don't talk about mental health the way we should, it's always overlooked, or it's always looked at as you're depressed or you're dealing with anxiety or you're dealing with these things. And for me, that was a problem because I didn't want to just give myself a diagnosis when in all actuality, I knew that something else was wrong. It was more than depression. It was more than the anxiety. And I just didn't understand. I'm like, well, why don't I feel like I've accomplished? Even when it was close to graduation time, it was like, yo, I'm about to graduate. but why am I graduating? And this is the conversation that's taking place in my head. And I'm like, I know I'm not bipolar because, like, even though my mood did just change, it wasn't that significant to the point where I knew that I was thinking about something else. It was literally two different emotions based off the exact same thing. What's going on, Dontez? So I got up the other day and everything in me said, look up imposter syndrome. And when I looked it up, it threw me off because I was like, yo, imposter syndrome is a cognitive distortion. It causes people to doubt their skills and accomplishments. They doubt others' high regard for them. They doubt their own history and track record. So when I was looking back at the intro video that I did, it was like, yo, I had a bomb life. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm really looking at it like, yo, but did you really? And it's like, being the person that I am, I know that I have to, I'm like, yo, I gotta bring it to the table. I'm Dontez Love. But nobody will care. Like, it's like, those are the conversations I have in my head. And I'm like, yo, I know I'm not tripping. Then I was like, well, maybe I am bipolar. Maybe I'm something. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm not all the way human. Like, maybe I'm like a half alien, half human type thing. Maybe that's the case. Don't know. But when I found this, it was like, yo, this right here gave me all the validation that I needed, that what I was feeling in my head, I'm now able to verbalize. So what causes imposter syndrome? Your family environment. Growing up, parents or other family members might have put outside emphasis on achievements or been very overly critical. Do you not know that we all deal with this on a regular basis, but because of the fact that we're told to just deal with it, or we're told to just keep it pushing, or we're told to just keep going, that we never acknowledge that these things are happening in our lives? Social pressures, a sense of belonging. Like, me being the person who I am, I've always been the person, like, when everything's going on in life, especially, let's say somebody has a graduation or anything, I was so consumed with being in the salon that I never had that social, I guess you could say, growing up to where I like being around people. I was cool with being by myself. I was cool with being in this, what I call a safe space. And I didn't really realize that, you know what I'm saying, even some personality types, these were the cause of the feelings that I was having. And because we don't discuss it, and because we, you know what I'm saying, we try to push everything under the rug and say, well, I'll deal with that later. No. Now we have things literally building up in us that is causing our body to break down. I didn't realize that because I was so tired, all these different, you know what I'm saying, moods and feelings that I was dealing with, all was tied to the fact that I'm overexerting so much energy with trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And not only figuring out what's wrong with me, but knowing that something was wrong. You get what I'm saying? So the characteristics of imposter syndrome: self-doubt, undervaluing contributions, attributing success to external factors, sabotaging self-success. I was my biggest self-sabotager. Whenever an opportunity came around, I gave myself a reason not to want to go after that opportunity because of the fact that I knew that I was overqualified, but I did not feel qualified. Wow. That's crazy. Like, that's big. And it's time for us now to, you know what I'm saying, start acknowledging things. So I really want to start having conversations about this, you know what I'm saying, with other people. Like, how do you feel? I sent the article that I found to somebody, and the first thing they said was like, yo, I can literally connect with every last thing on this. And I'm like, yo, it's real. Setting unrealistic expectations, continuous fear of not living up to expectations, burnout, self-doubt. Man, listen, like, when I tell you, like, it literally almost drove me crazy because I was in this place where I knew I had so much to offer, but I was scared to offer it because I didn't know how to receive it. So now that I know that there's something that I can do about it. And because there's something I can do about it, I can now make a conscious effort to bring forth that change. But we're going to talk more about imposter syndrome after this commercial break. We'll be right back after this. Okay. Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's National Helpline is a free, confidential, 24/7, 365-day-a-year treatment referral and information service for individuals and families facing mental and or substance use disorders. Visit samhsa.gov for more information or call 1-800-662-HELP. Again, 1-800-662-HELP.
Look around you. 1 in 4 kids in the U.S. face hunger, and it's not always easy to see the signs. But in the land of plenty, there are kids that don't know when they'll have their last meal. Join, share our strength, and Food Network and take our pledge to end child hunger. Here in America, by 2028, you can join NoKidHungry.org, and the next meal could come from you.
We are back with the Diverse Perspective. You were just tuning in. We were talking about imposter syndrome and some of the effects that it has on us. But listen, y'all, there's 5 types of imposter syndrome. It's really a couple more, but I'm gonna go into these 5. And when I tell y'all, I literally was able to check off the box with, yes, this is me, yes, this is me, yes, this is me. Look, it's okay to laugh, you know what I'm saying? Even when you're dealing with a serious topic or whatever the case may be. So in reality, people may find themselves fitting more than one type over time. And it told me to see if I if I could actually recognize myself in any of these. Number 1, the perfectionist. Ooh. I guess that could be erased. The perfectionist. When I tell y'all, like, that was the one that I literally gravitated to the most because I am a perfectionist. I am that person who, you know what I'm saying, like, I want to do things the right way. Number 2, the superwoman, superman, superperson. How many of us truly, you know what I'm saying, identify with that characteristic? The natural genius, me being a naturally smart person that I can kind of gravitate to anything, that's always been something that I can learn anything like that. But the problem is, you know, we learn these things, and then when you're not as efficient as you think you should be, now you have an issue, right? The soloist. Y'all, Amanda in the studio with me, she already know, like, I am the solo artist. When I tell you, I'm going to do it all to make sure it get done right. Yeah. The expert. So these are just 5 of the characteristics that they use, and then it's a couple additional that they use: the noticer, the discounter. And when I really, like I said, sat there and went through, like, they had a questionnaire with like 15 questions, and I literally went through and literally answered every question, and I was sitting there like, yo, I literally identify with every one of these characteristics. I'm really this person, and I've really been dealing with imposter syndrome my entire life, and I never knew what it was. So now that I'm aware, I can now try to figure out how to now balance my mental with my physical, with my emotional, with everything, so that I am a balanced person. And I can actually do. I'll be real honest with y'all, and this is gonna be I'm always gonna have a transparent moment every time you and I are together. Yeah, I'm talking about y'all. If you listen, I'm talking to you and I. I was not going to come here today. I was not going to do it because everything that could possibly go wrong is always going wrong. From my t-shirt not coming out the way I wanted it to come out, for things not to work. I'm talking about, it was to the point where the mirror fell off the dresser. Like, I was like, okay, so is this how the day is supposed to go? But I pushed through it, and I truly pushed through it because I knew that there's somebody that needs to know that if I can do it, you can do it too. And one of the things I always want to express in my life is that no matter what you're doing, take one step at a time, and I promise you, you'll get to your destination. Because that's really dope. But how to deal with imposter syndrome? Trying is exhausting. It depletes rather than energizes. Yet people can and do keep going. I'm that person that keep going. Amanda has sat there and watched me go to sleep in a matter of a blink. It wasn't even a second. It wasn't, I gradually fell into a sleep. It was literally, I was in the middle of a sentence and next thing you know, I was asleep. And I woke up to continue the sentence because that's all I've ever known how to do. And that is exhausting. And being 41 years old and not looking it, I didn't understand, like, I've been through a lot, so I should look like what I've been through. But the honest to God's truth is, I never allowed the effects of what I was dealing with at that moment dictate who I was in that moment. And I think that's something that will always separate a person who is that go-getter, who is that driven, who is that creative, that really wants what they want out of life. That makes sense? So it's like, don't try to ignore it. Instead of, I was in therapy, okay? This is how I knew that either I'm at a place of change is about to take place or I'm about to be at my breaking point. I was literally in therapy having a conversation and my therapist looked at me and her eyes kept getting like bigger and smaller and bigger and smaller. And I'm looking at her like, so what do you got going on over there? Like, now I have to stop talking to you to ask you what's going on with you. And what my therapist said to me was, I just watched you turn off your emotions 5 times. Y'all, I have never in my life even noticed that I was able to do that. I was never that person. You know what I'm saying? So, imposter syndrome is real. If you don't deal with it, you will continue to feel like everything that you are building is false. It's not a real reality. And I know for a fact that I see 2 people sitting in front of me, and I know that there's a microphone in front of me, so I know that this is really happening. But one of the things that they gave to cope with imposter syndrome is the SBNRR technique, which is stop, breathe, notice, reflect, and respond. And it can help you slow down and consider the situation and your own thoughts, feelings, and reactions more mindfully. And, allow yourself to stop in your tracks and take a moment to pause. Breathe, give yourself a deep breath and let your thoughts go and not be attached to them. That's something I've never known how to do. Like, I don't know how to separate the fact that my shirt is not the right way and it's really not, but I still have to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Notice your feelings and your body, your surroundings, your peers, the situation, your reaction, and anything else that you can notice. Reassess, evaluate the situation and the reason you felt a need to fall into the imposter syndrome, and then respond. React intentionally. It can be more informed and composed now that you have calmed yourself a bit. And in addition to this technique, there's other techniques that you can use or whatever the case may be. But I definitely believe that, number one, you need to understand your voice. I realized that, I didn't understand why people had issues with me. But then I also realized that because when I walk in a room, I'm going to command that room because that's all I know how to do. I don't know how to not be me. And me trying not to be me is counteractive to what life is. If I was trying to walk around being Amanda, or I believe his name is Sean, you know what I'm saying, the world would be a terrible place because it's enough duplicates. It's not too many originals anymore. And one of the things that I always loved about myself is that I was original. I wasn't the most masculine. I wasn't the most feminine. I've never been the skinniest, but I wasn't always the fluffiest. So it's like, you find that balance in certain things. And I've always been a person that always strived and thrived and wanted other people to win as well. So just because I was the best, you know what I'm saying? And that's how everybody should feel. Just because I'm the best don't mean that I have to compare my, you know what I'm saying, situations to yours. And I feel like that's where, for me, the whole imposter thing came up because I'm like, well, am I comparing my life to other people's? Anyways, real quick, 10 quick tips for dealing with imposter syndrome. Number 1, understand your voice. Number 2, assess the evidence. Number 3, refocus on values. Number 4, reframe around growth. Number 5, get out of your head. Number 6, practice self-compassion. Number 7, be kind to yourself. Number 8, keep failure in perspective. I love the word perspective. It fits so well here. Number 9, practice mindfulness. And number 10, seek trusted feedback. We'll be right back. It was nice seeing y'all. You too, sir.
I see you.
You can take pride in LGBTQ celebrating place for you. Our mission to enrich the lives of the diverse LGBTQ plus community through abstinence, support, education, and celebration. For more information, visit lgbtcleveland.org or give us
Because I wasn't seeing this part at all. So the music was playing before I could even.
Or drop in 6705 Detroit Avenue, Cleveland, Ohio 44102.
Pets have been there for us through the good and the bad. So let us be there for them. At Cleveland Animal Protective League, they offer a wide range of services from trap and neuter, return program, to help with the cat population, to pet rehoming for when you can no longer take care of your furry friend. Help this organization by volunteering, or if you don't have the time, please donate at clevelandalp.org. Any amount will help these programs do good work in Cleveland by helping our furry friends.
We are back with the Diverse Perspective. I'm your boy Dontez Love, and we are finishing up talking about the imposter syndrome. It's crazy, I didn't think we was gonna get this far along with it, but it seemed like it was so much information, and I think that, you know, it's never a rush to do the right thing. But I believe the last thing, a real quick recap on the 10 tips for dealing with your imposter syndrome. Number 1, understand your voice. Number 2, assess the evidence. Number 3, refocus on values. Number 4, reframe around growth. Number 5, get out your head. A lot of us never get out of our head. Number 6, practice self-compassion. I ain't know how to do that. Number 7, be kind to yourself. Didn't know how to do that either. Number 8, keep failure in perspective. Number 9, practice mindfulness. And number 10, seek trusted feedback from your network. These are some key components of, you know, things that we can use in light of finding out this new thing called imposter syndrome. I don't want to feel like an imposter because I know that I'm working my behind off. See, I have to slow down because I almost said something else. I'm working my behind off to make sure that, you know, my future is bright. And a lot of times, because the distractions come, we just don't acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? We bump our knee, and next thing you know, our knees turn black. And instead of going to the doctor, we say, "Oh, well, I'm gonna put something on it." No, go to the doctor. You might have done something to yourself, or you might hurt yourself in a way that, you know what I'm saying, is not the best light. So I think mental health is a real thing, guys. And all I say is, not only to myself and to, you know, those that's sitting here with me, but to you, friend, if you feel it, deal with it. Go get checked. Go check on your mental health. Check on your, if you're not checking on you, who else will? I'll say it that way. And now to liven things up just a little bit, because I was a little deep with the whole imposter syndrome thing, but next on the docket, okay? So, my girl Lizzo is making headlines, and it's not looking good. As a person who, I looked at her for the strength that she showed with her, celebrating her body and her aesthetic and all these things. That was one of the things that really, really made me like her, on top of the fact that she is a very, very creative artist. Well, according to my friends over at CBS News, I said it wrong. Take two. I don't know why I saw CBS. Let me see your glasses, Smoke. That definitely says NBC. It's okay, we can edit that. Yay. According to my friends over at NBC, 3 of Lizzo's former dancers have accused the singer of sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment in a lawsuit filed on this past Tuesday. They have also alleged that she pressured one of them to touch a new performer at an Amsterdam club and subjected the group to an excruciating audition after leveling false accusations that they were drinking on the job. Now, as I was diving into this conversation, okay, it was a lot of things that I see going on a daily basis in businesses. And while I feel like this is a heavy topic and I really don't want to dive too much into it because I really want to see how things play out before I actually form an opinion on it, work environments can be difficult. And a lot of times they're difficult because you have so many different people with different mindsets, different backgrounds, different beliefs, and so many different other things. So now you have the situation where, the suit was filed in Los Angeles, and I'm talking about they're accusing the captain of her dance team and some of the activities that she was performing in the public view or whatever the case may be. I think it's kind of, I'll say different. I'll say that's going to be my safe space, because I think when you think about somebody acting on a thought or a feeling, most of the time we're going to base it on how we feel about the situation. I can't sit here and give an opinion on it because, again, I wasn't there. But allegedly, there are some people that really feel a certain type of way about how they were treated. I'm a firm believer. This is my belief. So I guess this is my opinion. If you don't like your job, find another one. That's my opinion. Because you're going to go into jobs and they're going to have you do things that you may not want to do that day, or they might have you doing things that you just may not like, and that's the job and you apply for it. As far as being disrespected or ridiculed or body shamed or anything of a negative countenance, I don't think that you should have to stand for. That's just my opinion. Because if I come into a place and you tell me that my weight is an issue, I'm going to take you to court too. You get what I'm saying? Especially when you're the person that's telling us that we should love our bodies and we should feel a certain way about ourselves. All I know is the suit does not say if Lizzo knew about the allegations linked to the dance captain, but the plaintiffs believe the singer was aware of their complaints about her, according to their lawyer. And I think that's where now we have to be accountable. We were talking earlier about, in this day and time, you almost got to have a camera everywhere because you just don't know. Everybody's on something scandalous and everybody on some other weird, crazy stuff. So you have to be very careful about the people and the company that you keep. And I think that when you're going into these particular spaces or whatever the case may be, you have to be strong enough mentally to be able to say no and voice your opinion. You have to be able to quiet the noise and find your voice in that moment. That's just my opinion on that situation. I'm waiting on things to transpire so that I can get a little bit more information. But y'all, I'm excited. This is our first episode, and I don't know how it went. I'm be honest. I don't know, but I know that I was honest. I know that I was truthful, and I know that I did what I came to do. I came to introduce the show because it's time for people to be able to have that voice and all that good stuff. So Be sure to follow us on all social media sites, The Diverse Perspective. You can go find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Spotify, and YouTube. We are everywhere at The Diverse Perspective. If you go follow us on Instagram, you'll be able to get a link to all our social media. So until the next time, friend, this is Diverse Perspective, and we out.